Hey everyone, this is Ellie Mae with Artesprix, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how you can have some fun and play around with the Artesprix Sublimation products for less than $20. So we are going to be featuring the sublimation markers in this video. The markers are now available individually, which means you can pick and choose what colors and what kind of tip that you want instead of purchasing a package. If you know you like it, a package is probably going to be on your wish list in the future road. But if you just want to get started with this and see if it's something to get into and have fun with, you can purchase these markers individually now. So the first thing that I'm going to do, I had to pick 3 colors. So first off, black is a staple. I would highly recommend the black. But I had to pick 2 additional colors. That was my limit for this video. 2 colors. So in the comments below, I would love to hear what 2 colors would you pick. Let us know the 2 colors you would put in with a black sublimation marker. You do want to have your markers upright for about 20 minutes before you get started, so that gives the time for the ink to flow down to the nub on the marker for the best success. So let's go through some of the rest of the supplies that we'll need today. We are going to be working with the Artesprix Sublimation Charms. The white side is your sublimation side. It's actually on the back side of this, and I'm keeping that in the package so I don't lose any of those bits. We're going to be working with the sublimation charm, and they now have a smaller roll of the sublimation heat tape. It's special heat tape designed to withstand the high temperatures. And then we're going to be working with the smaller roll of the protective paper. This is siliconized release paper that is going to protect our heat surface, whatever heat surface you are working with, from the sublimation gases that are released. So it's a very important part of the process. Then you're going to just need some basic tools. Scissors are always handy. Pencil does not transfer to your blank. We're going to use that to draw our templates. I'm going to be using a paintbrush here. It just depends on the technique that you're working with. And then a high-tech plastic bag. Anything in your studio that will is slick, not absorbent. So we don't want to use the paper. I'm going to be mixing the colors. I picked the yellow and the blue, which makes green. So I'm going to be making a green up that I can work with for this project. Then you will also need a heat source of some kind. I have my heat press over here. Because I have the heat press, I'm going to use it. It's going to be heated at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 seconds. You can also use a handheld press, such as a mini iron or a full iron. For this project, any sublimation blank that is smaller and can fit in a flat surface. You do not want to use the areas where the holes on this iron are. And then you are going to use it at the highest temperature that the iron will go to, and you're going to press it for about 3 minutes. It really just depends on the blank you're using, but you would hold it, press it, not iron it, press it for 3 minutes. That's why I'm going to be using my heat press since I have it. And I just want to let you know that you can use your home iron or a mini heat press. You also want to make sure that you have a heat safe surface to press on. So I'm using the heat press which has a bottom platen that's heat safe. A piece of wood would also work for pressing on top of if you were using the handheld iron. Just make sure that it's heat safe so you're not melting anything. It is a high temperature. And then we will be using basic copy paper, plain old ordinary copy paper. That means that if you make a design and you don't like it, simply set that aside. Don't throw it away. You might like it later, and start over. So let's go ahead and get started with our supplies. Now I've gone ahead and I've opened this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut the top off of this. So I have my sublimation blanks. I only need the circle one for right now. Will do. This is double-sided in that this is your back side. The white is your sublimation part. This is the front. I'm going to take this, and I have a couple sheets of scrap copy paper. So I'm just going to, you don't need a full sheet if you're just using a small blank. I'm just going to set this on top, and I'm going to go ahead and let's draw out a template. So I'm just going to use my pencil. Pencil does not transfer. This gives us a great place to know the size that we are working with. And you can always change it up since pencil does not transfer. So there I have 2 of my blanks, and I'm going to set this back in here so that it's protected. Now, since pencil does not transfer, you can go ahead and you could sketch out a design. So I'm just gonna sketch whatever you have in your stash. If you have stencils, use the stencils. If you have stamps, you can use stamps as well with the ink. So you would just write on your stamp with the ink of a marker, or Artesprix does have the stamp pads as well that have the sublimation ink. So I'm just going to draw a real quick design here. We'll see how that turns out. Keep in mind when you draw, whatever you draw or whatever you are doing, that with sublimation it is going to be reversed or it's going to be flipped. So if you are working with text, you will want to mirror that prior to it. So if I was to draw out an E, I would actually need to draw it backwards. And for this next one, I'm just going to freehand it and we will play around with that. So this first one, let's work with this. I'm just going to draw a simple flower shape. This will also tell you if your ink is flowing. You can go ahead and kind of color this in. Anything that is left white is going to remain white. So if you don't fill the whole thing in, then it's going to remain white there. So I'll set that one aside. And let's see, I think I'll leave that. Maybe I'll outline this. Every design can be different, and if you don't like it, it's just a little bit of copy paper. Yeah, we'll go with that. And then for this one, I'm going to go ahead and outline this. With the black. If you don't like it, draw your new template over here and you can start again. Now, since it is copy paper, you don't want to saturate it too much with your inks, but you can do multiple layers. Just make sure to let the ink dry between the layers of ink so that you're not tearing your paper. So I'm gonna leave that like that, add a little bit more dimension here, or a little bit in the middle. You can see my paper's a bit saturated, so it kind of bled. But that's okay, we're gonna go with that. I'm working with 2 colors here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my yellow, I'm going to scribble on this smooth surface that is it's not gonna dry out, it's not absorbing the ink. And then I'm going to scribble with my blue and just put some ink down there. And then I do have a little spritzer, add some water. This is where the paintbrush comes in. I just have a spritzer that's handy. I'm going to add just a little bit of water here. The more water you have, the more diluted it's going to become, or your colors will become lighter because it's more like a watercolor. So if I mix this together, now I have a 3rd color. I have a green. And I can kind of test this out over here. Perfect. So I have a green now. I can go ahead and add that into my palm tree. And then let's just give this a little bit of a leaf. Little green there. Do that on the other side. You can go outside your template, so then whatever's on under that blank is what is going to show there. Now I could also do the same thing just simply with the blue. If I want to color in around this, I can just use blue and go ahead and clean my brush off when I'm switching colors. So I'm just going to grab this blue here and just kind of color in and give it a little bit of a background. You can use the charms for bracelet charms. Get some more water here. Earrings, wine charms. Let us know in the comments below what you would use these little charms for. They are, let's see the package here. It says 0.7 or 3/4 of an inch, 0.75 inches. So they are a smaller size, which is great for getting started and just playing around, seeing what you can create with this. Have fun with your design creations. I'm going to set this aside. I think I'm just going to go ahead and, now if I had brown, I would fill that in with brown. But since I don't, this one here is a little bit blurry. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly just make another one. That's the best part of copy paper. Completely up to you, but I'm not going to throw that one away. I'm going to wait till it dries. And while I'm here, let's just draw out another one just in case. Okay. And then I'm going to quickly just draw my flower again. And as you can see, I'm a little bit indecisive on the finished design. It's just a little bit of copy paper. Have fun, play around with it and see what you can create, and then pick your favorites, set the other ones aside, and you are not committed with this until you go to press it on the blank. So you want to choose your 2 favorite ones, and then let's go ahead and we'll cut these apart. So I think I'm going to use these 2. If they're close enough together, you can keep them on the same page. And then what I'm actually going to do is with this, I'm going to go ahead and just pull up any of the excess ink. That can sometimes be a really cool background. So you don't want that to go to waste either. I got it on my flower there, but you have this really cool background that you could use as a splash on for another charm or all kinds of different projects. So I always keep my extra ink and my extra papers. And then I'm going to go ahead and take this and I'm going to place it white side down on top of the area I want that blank. And then with a bit of heat tape, this is specialized tape to withstand the high temperatures of 400 degrees. You don't want to use any regular tapes. They could melt. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a piece of this. These charms are 3/4 of an inch, so you can just take one piece and secure it to your paper there. And you want it to be secure and not loose at all. You don't want any movement when you are going to press that. And then I'm going to go ahead and we'll see what this little guy turns out like. So we'll go ahead and get this charm. And secure that as well. What kind of designs would you try to freehand? Flowers are pretty easy. I was going to draw a turtle, but I practiced and it didn't quite turn out. So I decided against that. I'm going to unroll this here, but we'd love to hear what you would draw or what you would create with these. So let us know in the comments below. And then for this, it's a very small piece, but you do want to use enough protective paper that you are going to protect your surface, whatever surface you're using, from any off gases that are going to come out. Sublimation ink is science. When it is subject to the high heat and pressure, the ink turns into a gas and it transfers to your sublimation blank. So I'm just gonna cut off a piece here. And then I'm going to fold it and we're going to make a sublimation sandwich or sublimation taco with it. This is quite a big piece. You could actually put several in here at a time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this in half. And then you have pieces for your other charms. So I'm just going to fold that in half. So I have a piece of sublimation paper on the bottom, sublimation protected paper. I'm going to place my blank down on that with the paper side up. So your print is this side on the top. And then I'm just going to fold this over. I'm going to carefully move this to my heat source, and I'm going to press this in my heat press for 400 degrees for 45 seconds. If you're using an iron or handheld mini press, it would be the highest temperature that it would go, and you want to do for about 3 minutes and then do a peak test. So I'm just going to place that in here and then lower my press. First, since these are thin, I'm actually going to test my press and make sure that my pressure is secure, and it is. So then I am going to carefully place this into my press and press for 45 seconds, and it'll be movie magic. And then you want to carefully release your press and just let it set. If you do not have the Artesprix protective mat, I do want to mention this, it is not going to keep it under $20, but if you are investing in this, I highly recommend it. It is a heat safe mat that you can place on your surface, and I use it all the time. But if you're going to get into this, I would highly recommend that. But you want to make sure that when you move your blanks, it's to a heat safe surface, such as I do have this piece of wood here, so let's go ahead and use that. But this is going to be very hot, 400 degrees, metal charms. It's very, very hot. So you want to make sure to be safe, use heat safe gloves, or let this cool. You can see here that depending on your saturation of your ink, that the ink came off onto my protective paper. You do not want to reuse this protective paper, or it could transfer to your future projects or to your press. So you want to be very careful with that. So I can go ahead, there's off gases here from around the charm, and I'm just going to let this cool for a little bit before I reveal. Now once it's cool, I'm just going to grab the tape. I'm still being very careful, and we can see what our designs are going to look like. So there's our flower and the palm tree charm. Something I did not think about when I was putting this together is you do want to keep in mind where that little hole is, because that can make a difference on where you place it on the shape. So it just depends on the direction of your design. But these would be fun to have kids create with, have a mom's night. You could create, you could make, drop your ideas down below, but I'll give you a couple. So bracelet charms, wine charms, earrings. Those are some ideas to get you started. And here's a look at the finished projects. And once you get started, it can be hard to stop. I had the supplies out, so I grabbed a sheet of higher quality copy paper and tried to draw those flowers just a little bit better. Here's a look at those finished products. Use what you have in your studio. If you have stamps, if you have a cutting machine, you can put the Artesprix markers in the cutting machine, sketch those designs out. Some of them don't work at a smaller size. These are the ones that did. And then I just used those 3 markers to make the coloring for these projects. Make sure to check out the links below this video for additional information, resources, and the supplies that were used in this video. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.